overly exuberant confidence. And so I jump into things that I probably shouldn't. And I got tired of standing, and so I said, I'm just going to sit down and work on this one. Because inevitably you're doubling up on some of your stitches. Hi, welcome or welcome back. I am Dawn at the lake. If you're new here, this channel is about my beginner quilter journey. So some might say you're not a beginner because you know how to do some things. Well, I think I'm going to always be a beginner because there's so much to learn. I kind of want to view my journey as if I'm a beginner, like even if I really become an expert at something, you know, and I get an area of expertise. I'm going to open this box while we talk. If I, get an area of expertise, I still want to consider myself a beginner because that puts me in a mindset of wanting to learn and being humble enough to learn. But with that being said, I'm nowhere near that. I am definitely a beginner. I'm a beginner with, just enough experience to have some overly exuberant confidence. And so I jump into things that I probably shouldn't. I have jumped into this year the Quilt Show's Block of the Month, which is a beautiful pattern called Pick A Petal by Jen Kingwell. And it is absolutely wonderful. So we're outside instead of the studio because number one, it's, bright and sunny and beautiful out, and it's not too hot yet, and it's really my only chance to be outside. But that said, I'm not going to be out here too long because it quickly heats up. This is one of the piece blocks from Jen Kingwell's Pick A Petal. You can see that I'm working on this piece next, but currently I am working on this side. I'll give you some close-ups of this in a minute. So those of you who have been following along, you know that I've been working on getting the templates for the second border of the Pick A Petal. There are 4 borders around a center square in this quilt, and they are filled up with applique. And Sherry, one of the viewers, had loaned me her templates, and I've been working on progressing through those templates so that I can get them sent back to her. Well, I was working on that yesterday, doing the very last of those flowers, and then kind of got tired of standing. And so I said, I'm just going to sit down and work on this one because where I am now on this quilt is creating kits of this so that in the evening time when I'm watching TV with my son, I'll be prepared. Just went through a series of having to recover from 3 different things, and I had kits ready from the first piece block style. So I was able to progress through those, at least enough to go around that center square. So how this quilt is designed, there's a center square, and there's piece blocks, alternating piece blocks around that. And then there's log cabin blocks around that. And then there are more of the piece blocks around that. And then there's some wagon wheels around the half wagon wheels, I guess is what it's called, on the outside of the quilt. I'll show you a close-up on camera. So it's going to take me a while to get through this, and that's fine. But that's what I was saying. As a new beginner, I have enough confidence that I jump into things. But that's also kind of my MO. I love jumping into things because that's where I'm going to learn the most. And I am learning loads with this quilt. And I'm here to share my journey with you. What I thought we would do today is we would talk about how to inset a piece into something like this. So I've done 2 of them, and I was kind of taking note of what I was doing. And before I finish this one up, I want to show you how I finished up at the tip and a few things about what I've done so far. And then we will walk through this last piece together. But first, let me show you the video clips I did yesterday of preparing that last applique flower. When you come back, I'll be sitting at the patio table so that I can have this in my lap, assuming that I get enough shade over there. Right now it's in the shade. Hopefully it'll stay that way. I hope you're enjoying your day. I'll see you in a second. I forgot to mention that I was going to first show you how I pressed the seams for this first of the piece blocks inside the Jen Kingwell's Pick A Petal. Just in case it helps you, I thought I would offer this. Here you go. I think what's going to work best, and I'll do this on the next ones, is to start with the center square, because that's where you've got so many seams coming together at once, and press those open and get them going in the right direction, and then press everything else. going back to do that after I've pressed the seams that surround it is more difficult. I mean, it's not hard, right? This is just pressing fabric, but I'm just saying it's easier if we don't have to undo what we've done. That doesn't want to separate. There we go. Yeah, I think pressing open is really the way to go for this. This is the way to do it. One side is completely open and the others can go the direction they want to go. But if I want these seams right here in the middle to not be bulky, pressing them open is the way to go. But get that started. Here we go. Yes, lay over, lay over. There we go. I don't know why that one was difficult. But these seams that come out from the center square don't necessarily have to be open. But to make it flat here, it's best if it's completely open here. All four are going away from each other. And that means that these aren't, but these are. I think that's the way this one needs to be pressed. So if you're still piecing on your Jen King well and you're about to iron these, let me know if you think that something else needs to be done. Get these seams rolled in the right direction. Press with the big iron and put it on the wall. Then I'll show you what I did. Let me get all of them done first. Turn off my craft iron because it gets so hot. I don't trust it. Need to be in a habit of doing that. Trying not to iron, but just to press. It's a habit that is hard to break. Sometimes I think it matters more than others. Oh, that looks so good. And this one I had finger pressed a little bit. So it's going to be a little easier. I need to remember that. That finger pressing is helpful. One good thing about these craft irons is they just stay hot all the way up here, so you got to be careful. That's a good looking block. Okay, so every other square will be done in the other pieced block style. Okay, so what's next on our agenda? I need to make sure I pull out the fabric to make the very last flower with Sherry's templates and get these sent back to her. I need to work on creating kits for that second pieced block style of the Jen King Well Pick A Petal. And then I need to start picking out fabrics for the sleep sack. So I picked out, let's go ahead and look at that real quick. I picked out some whites to represent our cotton. And I kind of like that combination, but I could look at some others. And look at this one. We could throw in a little bit of this maybe, but it's got so much blue and color in it. I may not like that for my cotton blossom. But and this is just what I had piled up on my table from working on the applique pieces. Nothing is pretty and organized right now. I've been doing too much sitting and recovering in the past few weeks to be organized. Okay, so I'm thinking about for the hay bale circles on the bottom of that
sleep sack to use this and this, but in all of my Jen King Wild Pick A Petal stash, and this is one of the boxes, one of the bigger boxes, I don't have the colors I need. I don't have the fabrics I need for the sleep sack. So I need to start looking elsewhere. And that's what I'm going to do. And you know where I'm going to look? I am going to look in this stash right here and in this stash over here. Don't you think that doing a little fussy cutting on this and putting it on the road that's going up the back side of that sleep sack, that would be really cute? And I think that might work. It's going to be a little tedious right here to applique, but I think we might have to try that. What I really think I need to do before I get too distracted on the sleep sack is use Sherry's templates and get that last flower cut out, and then I can get to the next stage, and that is to get these sent back to. Oh my goodness, Ruby interrupted us. She saw that golden retriever again. Okay, so what I was saying is I need to get these sent back. That's our next step. So all I got to do is create these templates, use her templates to create these pieces, and then we can get this all packaged up to go back to Sweet Sherry. All right, there we go. We've got a plan of action. Once this is done, which I'm going to quickly try to quickly do, I am going to then focus on creating a kit that I can sit down with tonight for the Pick A Petal, and then I will go back to worrying about picking out fabric for the sleep sack. I moved rather quickly through this process because I really wanted to get to the point where I was creating the kits so I can be productive while I'm sitting and recovering and while I'm watching TV in the evenings with my son. And I did do that, and I'm not unhappy with what I came up with. I think this is going to be a cute little flower. I still need to get the edges turned. I just ran out of steam, guys. I ended up sitting for the next 3 days, but I'm feeling a lot better today. Hopefully I'll be 100% before we know it, and you can stop hearing excuses from me. Actually, I thought we were going to move over to the patio table, but I just figured I'd put you on the fire pit here, and you can look down at my lap right here, because the shade is right here, and that works for me. There's a little bit of a breeze, just enough to make it comfortable. So where I am right now is on this one, is I've already put it on one side completely, and I am now, and I've made my turn, and I'm about to finish. And what I do is you can't really see it on camera, I'm sure, but I've got a little pencil line that I'm following, and that pencil line goes to a point. So the stitching from over here has to meet the stitching over here at a point. So I need to make sure that whenever I come around here, I hit at that point, and that point is on a quarter in from this piece of fabric, from that side and that side, and the same thing. I've been using that to hold that back. And same thing over here, that it's a quarter in from here and from here. I hope you can see that, because it's hard for me to see what you can see from what I'm looking at. So put that back, just keep that out of my way. I'll zip through this and show you at the very end. So whenever I come to these intersections where there are seams coming together, call me paranoid, but I go over those seams, and I've already done it. I go up one side, through it, down the other side, and I go back around a couple different times. I hit it from all the different angles. I'm using an Aurifil 100 weight, which means it's almost invisible. Whenever you're holding this in your hand, you can barely even feel it, so it is quite slippery. So I don't really create bulk when I do my excessive stitching to hold those seams together. And normally I'm wearing a thimble, but today I just felt like not wearing it, so I'm not, because this is not hard stitching. It's just it's moving through really lightly, so I'm able to push it
quite easily. It's not a big deal. And I'm not doing tons, so it's all right. It's kind of hard whenever I'm stitching from the right and I have not marked my line on this side. Normally I do, but I haven't on this one. So what I do, and it may take longer, and I'm okay with that, but I'm always looking at my back to make sure my needle is going into my drawn line and coming out. Since I don't have a drawn line on this side, I am eyeballing it to make sure that my stitches go in a smooth line and that they stay what I can eyeball as a 1/4 of an inch away. It's maybe more like, oh, I don't know, a little bit more than a 1/4, maybe 3/8 or something like that. But as long as I'm consistent and I'm not off by too much, it's okay. When I go in from the side that doesn't have a drawn line and I hit my drawn line on the other side, I know I've eyeballed it pretty good. Yep, same thing. I went in on my drawn line and I hit it just in line with the other stitches there. So I'm going to keep this going and we'll get to the end and then we'll talk again. So something I do when I'm taking my first pass of stitching, this is something I can get away with also because it is very thin thread, is I may take some really giant stitches and I'm not going to worry about it. It helps me to zip through, take those needles out, those pins out, I'm sorry, and then I come back through and I will re-stitch that same line without those pins in the way, and I will make smaller stitches. It's kind of like basting it really quickly, but it just, and it is overly doing it, like it's overly stitched, which I would only be able to get away with because I'm using the Aurifil 100. If this was a thicker thread, it would be kind of bulky because inevitably you're doubling up on some of your stitches. You're not just stitching between stitches, if that makes sense. Should have kept that pin in. My top fabric was trying to slide on me. And I'll do a little bit of a back stitch too, just to lock things so they stay nice and secure. Okay, I can see that my top one is sliding. I need to pin it in place. It's sliding down. I'm going to pin it up. There. Now I can come along and just stitch, 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 and not have to fight my fabric migrating. If you guys are interested in seeing like a 2-minute pond update at the end, or backyard gonna be pond update at the end, let me know and I'll do that in the next video. Just don't want to bore you to death with it. There's so many changes and always something to talk about, but if you have no interest in seeing someone's progress, I don't want to bore you with it. So let me know in the comments if it's something that you'd want me to do. We're waiting on a delivery of lumber today. It's supposed to have been here Saturday. This is Thursday. Then they said it was going to be here Wednesday. It didn't come. Said they had a failed delivery attempt. Well, we were here all day. Well, my son was here all day. So they did not have a failed delivery attempt. They had a failed to try attempt. Anyway, so we were promised that it'll be here today. We'll see. Yep. Okay, so this is where it gets a little tedious. I'm going to make certain that I don't go beyond the 1/4 inch point here, but I've got to make sure I'm hitting right at on that very point and pulling my needle back so I can hit it. This one is getting in the way. I'm going to pull that out of the way so I can hit that point. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so I've hit that point, you know, the point where it's supposed to, where the drawn lines meet on that back side. And I'm going to go right back in there. This is kind of funny to do in this light versus my OT light that I have at my chair. Ooh. Okay, I'm back stitching and going the other way for a little bit. Oops. I'm always afraid I'm going to cross sides and have my thread coming from the back, but then going in the front. So I'm trying to stay cognizant of that. I'd advise you, if you're new, to put that on your radar. It's something that's really easy to do, especially with this really fine thread that is hard to see where it is. You just kind of trust that it's on your needle and that it's going to follow the needle. Okay, so I've gone backwards a little bit. I'm going to go back over here, put my needle back in, making sure it hits from the back side on that drawn line, comes in on my stitching line on this side. Just drop that pin that was holding my piece down. I don't need this one anymore. Okay, so I'm free of pins. I'm going to make it back over to this point, and I'm going to re-secure that point. Although technically I've already done that. I've got a couple stitches going to it and a couple stitches, one stitch in place and then a couple stitches coming back. But what I'm going to do is, you'll see, just because I'm a little paranoid because I'm new, right? I like to make dang sure that something's not going to come back and bite me in the end. Okay, I want to open this up. I want to have my thread coming out at the back and open this up and see what it looks like. I want to make sure that I like how it looks and the points match up, and they do. Then I'm going to go through one more time and make sure that whenever I do that, I can see the shiny part of my needle going through there, and it looks fine. It's in the right place. So if I tighten that up, then whenever this block is stitched to the others, and the needle of my sewing machine or my hand needle, if I'm going to piece it together by hand, I don't know, will go right in this spot. This is the stitching point. But since there's going to be tension right there of these fabrics not wanting to lie against each other, does that make sense? That there's they're pulling away from each other a little bit because they're not lying, they're not being stitched together in a perfect parallel fashion. I think maybe that makes sense. Yep, okay. So I just think it's wise to do that. Now I'm going to park this needle, sewing needle, right there while we look at the front. Okay, see how that looks? That looks good. So this is all seam allowance out here. Our stitch line should come up to right there at that point. I'm going to use this to point for you. Our stitch line will come to right there. Hope you can see that well. And that will be the point of our block. Now, I am going to get in a more comfortable place, and then we will talk about how you get started on this, and we'll do it start to finish. But don't worry, I'm going to zip through it as much as I can. I'll make some commentary here and there, but we will do this whole piece together. Hey guys, on second thought, I decided to break up the content. I'm going to end this video here, and in the very next one, we're going to be working on finishing this block. I'll show you how to get started,
and how to finish with that one swoop to finish out this one block. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.